What's up? It's Juice Beats, back again with another race video. And just like I promised, this is the state championship in the pro race at the Music City Crit Series. And yeah, something happened. My front camera, I switched batteries to be able to record this one in the front. And the battery said it was abnormal, so I'm not sure what was going on at the time, and I had to kind of scrap it and just say, you know what, I'll just run with the back camera and see what happens. So that's what I got. We got the back camera. So there's Derek back there in the back. We're all in this race. It's me, Derek, Terrell, Nick, and Lee in this one. So we're rolling 5 deep, and we're gonna be working for Nick in this one. We're gonna try to get him the state championship. Lee was kind of coming off of an injury in another discipline in cycling, and not sure if he was, quite ready completely, completely 100% in this race. But I am also not completely 100% in this race, just because I had already done 2 races on this day. So they did talk me into doing this 3rd race, and I was a little bit reluctant, I guess, to jump into it, just because I was pretty tired. But so I did the Masters race earlier in the day, and then turn around maybe an hour or so later and did the 3-4 race, trying to get Derek the state championship jersey. But then we had a little bit of a break, so I think it was like a few hours in between that and the pro race. So I was able to get me some Hattie B's. So I finally got some Hattie B's in there, and they were looking at me weird, like, "You gonna eat some Nashville hot chicken before this race?" I was like, "Yeah, I gotta get something." I didn't eat the entire thing. I had maybe like 2 pieces of chicken and a few fries or something like that. But I needed something substantial just to like kind of replenish my energy a little bit and get some real food instead of some gels or some granola bars or whatever, Cliff bars or something like that. So, but yeah, I didn't throw up or anything, so that was good. And I actually, I got into this one feeling pretty decent. Like, there were some times in this race where it felt a little bit taxing, and I was pushing pretty hard, but for the most part, I felt pretty good, and felt pretty confident that I was going to be able to help out in this one. And you'll hopefully kind of see that a little bit in here. I know that the footage is only the back here, but I'm gonna do my best to kind of commentate a little bit here and give you guys kind of a picture of what's going on. So obviously these are early laps in the race. Nothing too crazy has gone on yet. So I'm tail gunning a little bit on the back, and I'll tell you that my role for this race, because I was tired and because I had already done 2 races, was to kind of sit in and wait till about halfway through the race, and then start trying to help make moves and stuff towards the front, to make sure Nick doesn't have to put any work in or anything like that. So that was kind of my role. So in the pro races that I've done in the past, I haven't really, like I said, I guess in some previous videos, I wasn't really racing them. I was just kind of holding on for dear life and just trying my best to stay in there for a long time. There's Seamus back there making faces. Yeah, so, but in this one, I felt like, I have the endurance, I have, the strength now. I feel like I can hang with these guys, and even though I was somewhat tired, I felt like, I could go the distance in this one. And yeah, so I wanted to make sure that, I could help out, but I also wanted to make sure I could make it to the end in this one as well. So quick stats for you. So we averaged over 27 miles per hour, so 27.3 miles an hour. I averaged 275 watts, 1,223 max watts in this race, and a 312 normalized power. So not too bad after a full day's work in the state championship here. All right, so we're coming up. This is lap 6. We're only 7 minutes into the race here. I'm moving up closer to the front here. You can see the whole pack is right there, just chilling, doing their thing. And I'm trying to remember at this moment what was going on. If maybe I might have just been trying to move up to the front to watch a few moves here at this point. You know, I'm not really supposed to be doing a whole lot yet in this race. I'm supposed to be kind of chilling. But I'm trying to remember at this point in the race. You can see I'm closer to the front, and it may have been that there was somebody off the front, and I might have had to come help. Obviously, without having the front cam here, it's kind of tough to tell. But yeah, I think that may have been why I came to the front here and started leading the pack. I think we needed a little bit of help here, or it could have been that Lee may be out there out front, and I came to the front to kind of control the pace a little bit and slow it down and make sure that we're kind of chilling. It would be great to have a front cam, obviously, and figure that out. But kind of cool to see, how many guys are in this group. I mean, this is a pretty big pro race group. Over 30 riders in this one. A lot of strong guys, and you can see, the Mustangs brought a pretty big group. Marks, Binsdorf, they brought a couple guys. Obviously, Hub is in there. Those strong juniors out there. And there's one of them wearing the state champ jersey, I believe, right there behind. So we have a bunch of strong guys in this group. A lot of guys that have raced a bunch in here, and I think that's. Now that I'm looking at this, I believe that's kind of what was going on. I was just out front, making sure that I was handling things and controlling the pace a little bit. Here goes Derek. So I guess there might be a couple guys out front there. There goes Lee. So yeah, Lee had fallen back into the pack and was resting a little bit. So yeah, I had to go out there and do a little bit of my duty and make sure, controlling the pace and making sure things didn't get away. And so, yeah, I was done there at the back and fell back in here. And I think Derek just went, and now he's helping out. So had to go a little bit earlier than obviously I wanted to, but that's okay. I think I did a pretty good job there, controlling the group, making sure everybody was chilling, and controlling that pace a little bit there. All right, here we go. Lap 21. A little bit later on in the race here. We're getting close to about halfway, but still not quite there. I believe there is a move off the front at this point, and of course it was my turn to go get it. So I am pushing hard, trying to go get it at the moment, and I get this big gap right here. The rest of the peloton looks like they're kind of looking around to see what was going on, and it may be. I think I remember there was a Marks Binsdorf rider out front here, and so that's who I'm going to get. I'm out there, pushing hard, trying to connect with that rider, and it looks like there is a Mustangs rider, and I'm not sure who's right behind him there, but looks like they are in the chase right there. So I don't know if they were trying to go for possibly maybe a breakaway at this point or not, but really I'm just trying to reel the Marks rider back in. Who is that? Nick. Okay, so another I guess so I went after Mark's rider. Nick got followed by Mark's rider, and now we're in a group, I believe, of 4, if I'm not mistaken at this point. So we got a little bit of a lead here, and I I'm not pulling. Yeah, you can see I'm pulling off. I'm not trying to pull. I'm not trying to go on a breakaway or anything like that. I am there to disrupt and break this thing up and let the peloton bring it back here. And it looks like I'm doing a pretty decent job of that, just based on yeah, the rest of the peloton coming up right here. Yeah, so put out a pretty good dig to go catch that. I think he had a pretty decent lead, and yeah, broke it up and got it back together. This Edvar from Mark's guy to watch out for in this race. I believe that's who they're working for in this one, trying to make sure that he gets a jersey in this one. There to the right is David Howe, another strong rider. He didn't do the Masters race this year, so he jumped into the pro race. So that's the guy. If you saw my video from last year's state championship, he ended up getting wrecked out of that one, but he was a guy I had marked on my list last year. That he was probably one of the strongest guys in the group, so I wanted to watch him. Definitely got to watch in this race as well. But a lot of guys in this race that have, a lot of experience, a lot of strong guys. Like I said, this is one of the faster races of the year. Since it's the state championship race, a lot of teams come out and a lot of guys are wanting to bring it to a sprint towards the end. They're not, the teams aren't wanting to let a breakaway go at all. So, any sort of attack, any sort of breakaway or anything like that, people are on it pretty quickly. As you can see, I mean, within the last couple laps, I was on one of them. My teammates have been doing the same thing throughout the race as well. Lee's right there to the left, and he's been resting up. He's been covering some moves out front. Now he's going back out to the front again to cover some more moves. There's Terrell just behind some people there. Safety herd in this race. You can see the loud pink over there. We got Matthew Baxter just behind me there. Super strong rider out here. He's chilling behind me. That must mean he's trying to get some rest. But yeah, there's some of my other teammates. So Terrell and Derek, and then Nick just behind there. You can see him in the colorful jerseys here. There goes Terrell by me. So a lot of strong guys. Sorry if I didn't call you out in the video yet. There's Nick from the Mustangs. And what I remember in this race, we're coming up about halfway through, is it was fairly boring. With all the teams and all the strong guys in the race, everybody was covering moves. If there was an attack, people were covering it pretty quickly or getting on it, breaking it up, bringing it back, and basically, you can kind of tell, like throughout a race, I'm always looking for a possible break or a possible some sort of attack, something going on. But you can kind of tell by the way the rest of the peloton is moving, by the way people are responding to certain things, whether or not it's going to come down to a sprint, usually. Now, obviously there's some abnormalities in different races and things happen or whatever, but for the most part, you kind of get this like race sense. And I know I've talked about this and some other stuff, but yeah, you kind of get this sense like, okay, this is definitely coming down to a sprint later on. So there's Nick kissing the camera. But yeah, so I kind of got the sense that this was going to come down to a sprint later on. just by the way everybody was responding to things, and just how the way things were going. And any sort of attack that was going off, it wasn't getting far. 5 seconds maybe max, that I remember. But yeah, so anytime that it's like that, that it's going to come down to the last couple laps and who's hanging on at that point, and who has the watts at the end of the race to be able to take it home. And Nick is behind me at this point, and this is where we're protecting our sprinter. We're trying to get him the state champ jersey here. He's getting some rest behind me. I'm a big body, so getting a good draft behind me here. And I remember, we talked after the race, and he said that, he felt good. He didn't have to put in a whole lot of work at all during this race. So, that's a good thing. That's what you want your protected sprinter to feel like throughout a race. You want him to make sure that, he is not, putting down a whole bunch of power and having to put down a whole bunch of watts throughout the race. So, getting around, I think there was a little bit of a gap or something that opened up, so I had to maneuver around some people to get back up there and bring my sprinter back up to the middle of the peloton, so that he's still protected. All right, so 38 laps in, 45 minutes into this race. There's Lee. Lee's getting a little bit of a rest here towards the end of the race. He's been out there doing a lot of work on the front end of the race. Nick was on my wheel for a good portion of the last, I don't know how many laps, but I think he ended up having to cover a move at one point because we I can't remember if we lost Derek or something at one point. I can't remember exactly the point, and obviously, not having the front cam, it doesn't help. But I think we had lost Derek at one point, and there was a move that went out, and he had to cover it. I was kind of recouping a little bit and trying to rest up, and so he did have to punch it out there a little bit and get to the front, but I think everything is back together at this point, it looks like. There's Edvar. David Howe to the right there, going past me. He's putting on there, the Mustangs are on it, following him up. That's a big player to watch out for in this race. There's Max. Max still in it. That pink jersey. That loud pink jersey. All right, so I remember kind of this point in the race. I believe we had Nick out there with a couple guys, and Lee and I are getting to the front. He's telling me we need to disrupt this and try to let Nick go, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm getting yelled at by Nick on the Mustangs to go, but I'm there trying to disrupt. So I was disrupting the breakaway a little bit and trying to make sure that people didn't catch on here, but didn't work. Everybody started to go around me. I think we kind of did our job. We didn't want things to go there, but I ended up coming back and kind of falling to the back a little bit here, and then having to rest up for the last 12 minutes of this race. Here we go, going to the last few laps here. Max is trying to squeeze into a spot that he couldn't squeeze into. I closed that door there. Okay, so I rested up for a little bit on the back. I moved forward. I've been kind of in the middle here. And this is where I believe I'm trying to connect with Nick and get in front of him and let him rest up behind me a little bit more. So we see some players right here. There's Nick, Edvar. Trying to see who else is possibly a player here, but so yeah, here's Nick. I'm getting there in front, trying to get him a lead out. There's Lee. Lee's been doing a ton of work on the front, so at this point in the race, it's me I think Terrell, and then I believe Derek's already out at this point. Like he already did his duty and all that stuff. So yeah, so we got to get Nick into position in the last few laps here. David Howe is right there on his wheel, so we definitely got to watch out for him, and definitely got to watch out for Ed Barr. But we're trying to control things here at the front, and we you know, easier said than done. This course is pretty wide, so it is fairly easy to move around and move up and do certain things on this course. So very, very tough. You know, some of the other courses that you go to throughout the country are more narrow, and you've got more chances to kind of squeeze people and kind of hold them off a little bit. But yeah, here on this one, there's a couple pinch points or whatever, but for the most part, it's pretty wide. So if you wanted to move up, you could. I'm just trying to you know, give him a good lead out at this point, and I think I got shuffled a little bit here going into these last few laps, and I'm trying to remember. It's been a few weeks since this race, but I'm trying to remember exactly what happens here in the last few laps here. I think I do move up and get into position here. I'm just having to navigate around people. David Howe's behind me. He's getting that draft. Well, I was scrubbing through, trying to remember exactly what was going on in the race and why Nick wasn't behind me at this point, but I think I remember now that there was some moves going towards the front, and Nick had to go. He had to get up there. So I think he is around, you know, he's at the front at this point. I think he's like only, you know, a couple wheels back or something like that. But he is at the front, and you know, he had to go there to be in position. And yeah, when I got shuffled back a little bit at one point, and I couldn't make my way back up there. And obviously we're going into the last lap here. And yeah, so we got him in position. We got a little shuffled around and just couldn't lead him out the way we wanted to at this point, but he's in the position that he needs to be for this race. And so right here, just kind of finishing out. I think Lee was out there as well, like trying to help out as much as he could towards the end of this one. You can see we're pushing hard here, 34 miles an hour, going around and almost on this last bit. Bratcher's done. There's Lee. Lee's done. I'm really just like trying to finish this race out. I was trying to see how it finished out actually. So I was kind of moving up here at this point just to see how the race would finish. But so what happened was Nick was in position. I think he was like, you know, third wheel maybe. David Howe, who you saw on my wheel not too long ago, he moved up and he got in position as well, and so did Edvar. I can't remember who exactly was in front, but I know from what Nick said that, you know, they all went around the last turn and were basically in contention for the sprint. Nick got a little chopped by Edvar. Edvar ended up taking second to David Howe, and Nick got third in this race. So we had him in position. He just got a little unlucky on that last bit, getting chopped, and wasn't able to sprint like he wanted to. But I made it to the end of the pro race, was able to finish out all three races on this day. I believe I got first place in the Masters, and then fourth in the 3-4 race, or the Cat 3 state championship race, and then I believe 15th in this pro race here. So not too bad of a day. Was able to do a little bit of work in this one, the best that I could after being, you know, super tired and all that. But yeah, so that was the end of my day, and I'm sorry about the front camera. I believe it's the generic batteries that I was using. So I've since now I've gotten new batteries, so that will hopefully fix the problem, and I won't have the battery issues that I had for the last couple races. But anyway, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you know when I post videos. And yo, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.